The soft click of the door echoed through the silent house. As Jungkook stepped inside, his sharp eyes immediately landed on his wife, curled up on the sofa, her head resting against the backrest. A deep sigh escaped his lips as he walked toward her, his expression unreadable. Why are you still sitting here? His voice was firm, yet low, laced with the exhaustion of the long day. I have told you so many times not to wait for me. Without waiting for a response, he sat beside her, gently pulling her into his arms and resting her head against his chest. His warmth instantly enveloped her, but she hesitated before answering. I wasn't feeling sleepy, just a little tired. She murmured softly, her fingers absent-mindedly tracing small patterns on his shirt. Jungkook's jaw tightened. He knew that tone. His hand instinctively cradled her belly, feeling the gentle curve of her. You did some chores again, didn't you? His voice dropped, turning colder. She stiffened slightly, her nervous eyes starting up to meet his. I just arranged your wardrobe, she admitted hesitantly. A long sigh left his lips. Of course, she wouldn't listen. No matter how many maids he hired to handle every chore, she still insisted on doing things herself. It frustrated him. How could she be so careless with her health? Pregnancy wasn't easy. She couldn't sit for too long, nor stand for too long, yet she stubbornly pushed herself. Jungkook shook his head, his hand slipping to her back as he rubbed slow, soothing circles. Why, you're not supposed to strain yourself, he muttered, his voice quieter this time. You could have just told the maids. Wine pouted slightly, pressing her face against his chest. But I wanted to do it for you, she whispered, her voice laced with drowsiness. Jungkook sighed again, but this time it was softer. His cold exterior melted just a little as he held her closer, his fingers threading gently through her hair. Stubborn, he murmured before pressing a kiss to the top of her head. Next time, just tell me if you need something done, okay? She hummed in response, her body already relaxing in his embrace. With a final glance at the clock, 1 a.m., Jungkook carefully scooped her up in his arms and carried her to bedroom. She might not listen to him, but he could always be there to take care of her, whether she realized it or not. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee and sizzling eggs filled the kitchen as Jungkook stood by the stove, flipping pancake with ease. The soft clatter of utensils and the gentle hum of the morning made the house feel unusually warm. Wine sat at the dining table, watching him with a small smile. It was 8 a.m., and since the maids wouldn't arrive until 10, Jungkook had taken it upon himself to prepare breakfast, something he did every morning before heading to work. His phone resting on the table suddenly buzzed. Curious Wine glanced at the screen. A name she didn't recognize flashed across the display. Bhumi. Her eyebrows furrowed. Who's Bhumi? Without thinking, she picked up the phone and walked toward the kitchen, holding it out to Jungkook. Your phone. Jungkook glanced at the caller ID before casually putting it on speaker, his focus still on cooking. The moment the call connected, a lively, almost playful voice rang through the kitchen. Cook, I missed you so much. Wine's grip on the phone tightened. Cook? Boomy. He continued stirring the eggs, his tone indifferent. Yes, silly. I just wanted to let you know I'll be staying with you for a week. Isn't that great? One's eyes widened slightly. Staying for a whole week. Bhumi's voice was light and flirtatious, completely ignoring Wine's presence. It's been so long since we spent time together, just like old days, right? I can't wait to see you cook. Wine felt an unfamiliar warmth creeping up her chest. Jealousy. Her lips pressed into a thin line as she glanced at Jungkook, but his expression remained unreadable as he calmly finished plating the food. After breakfast, as Wine silently fumed, Jungkook finally spoke. I won't be going to the office today. Wine's brows shot up. Huh? I will manage work from home for the next few days, he said casually, taking a sip of his coffee. We don't know each other, so I figured I would stay around. Wine scoffed internally. Oh wow, you won't go to work because of her. She rolled her eyes, but Shugak was too focused on his laptop to notice. After breakfast, Wine washed the dishes, then took a slow walk around the house to clear her mind. But no matter how much she distracted herself, a certain annoying name lingered in her head. Boom. After some time, she returned to her room, took a refreshing shower, and changed into comfortable clothes. Chunguk, now dressed in simple sweatpants and a half sleeve shirt, sat on the bed with his laptop, immersed in work. Just as Wine lay down beside him, the doorbell rang. Chungo closed his laptop and got up. Heading toward the door, curious Wine followed behind. The moment Jungkook opened the door, a woman with perfectly curled hair and a confident smile lunged forward, wrapping her arms around him. Cook finally, Jungkook hesitated, awkwardly patting her back before pulling away. Boomy, Wine narrowed her eyes. What the hell? Boomy's bright eyes flickered toward Wine. And the moment she saw her, her smile faltered. Just for a second. Jungkook cleared his throat. This is my wife, Wine. Boomy's gaze slowly dropped to Wine's baby bump. The smirk returned, but this time it wasn't friendly. Oh, how unexpected. Wine clenched her jaw, already hating her tone. Jungkook stepped aside, letting her in. As they settled in the living room, he placed a tray of juice and snacks on the table before sitting beside Wine. Bhumi, however, took the seat closest to Jungkook, her eyes glinting with mischief. Cook, do you remember this bracelet? She lifted her wrist, showcasing an old silver bracelet. You bought it for me when we were 12. Chungo glanced at it and nodded. Oh, yeah, I do. Mumi's gaze shifted toward Wine and with a slow smirk, she rolled her eyes before taking a sip of her juice. Wine clenched her fists under the table. This girl, Chungo, oblivious to the tension, stood up. All right, come on, I will show you the guest room. Bhumi stood as well, flipping her hair dramatically before following Jungkook up the stairs. Wine didn't bother tagging along. Instead, she huffed, crossing her arms. Great, just great. Now she's here, acting all important, and Jungkook is entertaining her. Wine grabbed the cushion and threw it at the couch in frustration. This was going to be a long wait. The maids had prepared a delicious lunch, filling the dining table with steaming dishes, but Wine had lost her appetite the moment Bhumi started talking, and she had not stopped. Oh my god, Cook, remember? That's summer when we went to the amusement park. You were so scared of the roller coaster. I still have that picture. Wait, let me find it. Jungkook gave a small nod, barely reacting, but Wine could see the ghost of a smirk playing on Bhumi's lips as she continued rambling. Wine, on the other hand, was about to explode. Her patience was hanging by a thread. And Jungkook knew it. Though he didn't say anything, she gagged the way he secretly glanced at her, watching her growing irritation with barely hidden amusement. But he said nothing. Bhumi kept talking, twirling a spoon between her fingers. And do you remember that one time when you fell off your skateboard and cried? You were so cute back then. One sharply exhaled, gripping her fork so tightly her knuckles turned white. That was it. Did you eat crows in the morning? She snapped, finally cutting off Bhumi's endless chatter. Just eat peacefully and let others do the same. Bhumi blinked, momentarily startled, before forcing a laugh. Oh, come on, wine, I was just. And just like that, she started again, this time directing her attention solely to Jungkook. Jungkook remained silent, nodding occasionally, but Wine knew him too well. He wasn't actually interested. He was just being polite because Bhumi was a guest. But Wine didn't care anymore. With an annoyed sigh, she placed her fork down with a loud thud and pushed her chair back. With down in the word, she turned on her heel and left the dining table, her appetite completely ruined. Jungkook watched her retreating figure before letting out a small sigh. Jungkook watched her retreating figure before letting out a small sigh. He wasn't surprised. Standing up, he grabbed a plate and quietly filled it with food. Cook, where are you going? You eat, I will eat with my wife. He sat firmly before glancing at her and dressed after eating. Bobby's face fell slightly, but he didn't wait for her response. Instead, he made his way upstairs. Inside the room, Wine was laying on the bed, her arms crossed, lips pressed into a pout. Jungkook closed the door behind him and placed the plate on the nightstand before sitting beside her. Wine, silence. Wine, look at me. Still nothing. He smirked. Ah, so she was jealous. Leaning down, he brushed a few strands of hair away from her face. So, are you going to start just because you're jealous? I'm not jealous. She turned her head away. Jungkook chuckled. You sure? Because your face says otherwise. Wine huffed, crossing her arms tighter. Fine. If you won't eat by yourself, then before she could react, he picked up a spoonful of rice and brought to her lips. I don't want. Open your mouth. His voice was firm but gentle. White stubbornly kept her lips pressed together, looking anywhere but at him. Jungkook sighed. Do you want me to feed you like a baby? He smirked. I don't mind. Wine turned to glare at him, but the moment she did, he tapped the spoon lightly against her lips. Eat, sweetheart. Her heart skipped a beat at the unexpected endearment, and before she could overthink it, she opened her mouth. Jungkook's lips twitched in satisfaction as he carefully fed her. You didn't have to follow me. Her voice was softer now. You're my wife. If you don't eat, then I won't eat either. One bite her lip, her irritation slowly melting away. Besides, you need to eat well. You're carrying my baby, remember? He placed another bite into her mouth, his touch lingering as he wiped a tiny grain of rice from her lip with his thumb. Wine's cheeks burned, Chunguk smirked, enjoying her flustered reaction. That's better. Now finish this and I might just reward you later. Wine swallowed, avoiding his gaze. She wasn't sure if she should be more annoyed or touched. One thing was certain, Jungkook knew exactly how to handle her. At night, Jungkook stood at the bottom of the stairs, gazing up at his wife with a soft smile. Wine, come now, dinner is ready. He was about to turn back toward the dining table when he saw her smile in return. Lifting her foot to take a step forward, but before she could move, a sudden force from behind sent her tumbling down. Jungkook, her scream echoed through the house, and Jungkook's heart dropped. His eyes widened in horror as he saw her body rolling down the stairs. While he sprinted toward her, panic surging through his veins. By the time he reached her, she lay motionless on the floor, her unconscious body curled protectively around her stomach. Bhumi gasped dramatically from the top of the stairs. Oh my god, she slipped. Jungkook barely heard her. His hands trembled as he lifted one into his arms, his pulse racing erratically. Hold on, baby, please hold on. Without wasting another second, he rushed to the hospital. The hospital was eerily silent as Jungkook placed outside the emergency room, his fingers gripping his hair. The door finally opened and the doctor stopped out with a somber expression. Mr. June, Jungkook's heart pounded. We did everything we could, but the doctor exhaled heavily. I'm sorry we couldn't save the baby, but your wife, she's safe. Jungkook stumbled back as if the words had physically hit him. His hands clenched into fists, his entire world shattering in an instant. But then he exhaled shakily, his eyes welling up. Thank God my love is safe. Wiping his tears, he didn't waste another second and ran inside the ward. Bhumi followed behind him, placing a hand on his shoulder. Cook, don't worry, everything will be okay. She spoke softly, but he didn't respond. Inside a dimly lit hospital room, Wine slowly opened her eyes. A dull ache through her body. But that wasn't what made her heart drop. Her hand instinctively went to her stomach. It was flat. A cold wave of dread washed over her. Chongo, where is my baby? Her voice trembled as she looked up at him with desperate, tear-filled eyes. Is he okay? Chunguk stood frozen, unable to answer. Chungkook, please tell me. When he still didn't respond, her gaze flickered past him and landed on Bhumi. Her entire body tensed and suddenly it all came rushing back. The force from behind, the feeling of being pushed. Bhumi was the only one behind her. Rage flared in Wine's eyes as she threw the blanket aside and stumbled off the bed. She screamed, lunging toward Bhumi. Because of you, I lost my child. Bhumi's eyes widened in feigned innocence. Wine, what are you saying? It was an accident. No, I remember everything. Tears streamed down her face as her body shook with grief and fury. I was careful, someone pushed me, and the only person behind me was you. Jungkook's breath hitched, his mind flashed back to the moment Wine had fallen. He had been too panicked to notice back then, but now he remembered Bhumi had been at the top of the stairs. She had not rushed to help. She had simply stood there. Jungkook's jaw clenched, his entire body stiffening as realization dawned on him. Cook, you don't believe her, do you? She gasped. Stepping closer to him, you know, I would never smack. Bhumi's head snapped to the side as Jungkook's palm connected with her cheek. Get out. His voice was dangerously low, shaking with restrained fury. Jungkook, get out, he roared, his eyes burning with unfiltered rage. You killed my child. You pushed my wife. I won't let you get away with this. Pulling out his phone, he immediately called the police. Within minutes, officers arrived and took Bhumi away despite her protests and fake tears. Jungkook turned back toward Wine, who had collapsed onto the hospital bed, sobbing uncontrollably. His own tears spilled as he rushed to her side, gathering her shaking body in his arms. I'm so sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. His voice cracked as he pressed kisses to her temple, holding her as she cried into his chest. Wine gripped his shirt, her entire body trembling with the weight of her grief. Our baby is gone, Jungkook. Jungkook let out a strangle sob, pressing his forehead against hers. I know, love, I know. And together they wept for the child they had lost.